Hello, and welcome back. After another break due to circumstances, we are finally back here, and today we are looking over episode 5 and 6 of Season 2 Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy. Now, yes, I know by the time this video is out, episode 7 will have aired, and I am planning on covering that one tomorrow. Now, I did actually quite like episode 5 and 6. There were a lot of good things in them that I quite enjoyed, both in terms of the side story, in terms of Shen and Mio and what they are up to, and also definitely the academy arc that Makoto is now on. I do quite love his teacher role so far. To start out with here, I did make a mistake, I believe, when I was talking about episode 4, as I thought Luria was the blue-haired woman at the end of the episode, but apparently it was her older sister, which I guess I should have maybe noticed. Anyways, she seems a bit sus to me. I'm still not quite sure of her role in the story, but I'm not convinced she is all that she seems to be, but I suppose we might find out as we go along. Episode 5 had a lot of interesting moments like this that I'm not quite sure where the story is going to go further with, but I'm interested. For example, the cocky noble student that we saw Shiki beat the shit out of basically in episode 3, I think it was? Maybe in episode 1. Anyhow, he, for some reason, is enticed to take this random medicine he's offered by what seems to be a schoolmate of sorts from the academy he is at, though I somehow feel like that might be Luria or someone else shapeshifting. I don't know. Might be completely unfounded, but that's just the vibe I got, or at least some other shady things going on. I have to say though, every single time, these noble, cocky students always end up doing some stupid shit, in this case taking some random medicine that apparently makes them stronger, though I can assure you there will be some sort of side effect. There always is. I'm interested to see where they take that storyline with this student, hopefully somewhere interesting. Also interesting to find out that, okay, the teacher that I forgot the name of was the one that hired the assassin to take out Makoto and the other teacher applicants in the prior episode. Not sure why he's doing this, but he has some reason clearly. Now I assume they will continue on with this story arc regarding this, let's say, assassination attempt throughout the next episodes, and I'm looking forward to seeing why exactly this teacher and potentially other people want Makoto gone. I definitely understand the assassin though. It's you know boss, I'm sorry I failed the assignment here, but no one told me that I was supposed to kill someone that is immune to all poisons and he breaks blades made of dragon scale, which is supposedly, not possible, right? So I'm sorry, but, no one told me about this, okay? This is not a normal job. Now, the next thing I want to talk about here mainly is the academy arc that Makoto is on. Now, as you all know, especially isekai fans, we have seen academy arcs or academy training arcs time and time again. They seem to never leave, they always come back in some way and form, but at least in Tsukimichi, they do it way better. In the beginning, when Makoto was intending to go in as a student, I'm sure we all face-palmed oh my god, not another standard academy arc, I can't be bothered. But due to some circumstances and Shiki being a bro for us, he got into the teacher position instead, which is where of course Makoto should be, especially based on his power level and experience in battle, etc. Because it would not be as entertaining to see Makoto be the standard, oh my god, I'm a student, but I'm way more powerful than anyone else, and shtick that we get all the time in isekai like this. Instead, having him be in the teacher position has been very nice to see. Very nice to see him really showcasing his power and these students being holy shit, this guy is legit. This guy is crazy powerful. And also seeing that battles between Shiki and Makoto in this mock setting for the students was quite enjoyable. And you really felt the power as well, especially with the students' perspective in that one. So yeah, I must say I'm very, very satisfied with that whole Makoto teacher position and all the potential that narrative arc has for the next episodes. I like how Makoto is really trying his best to be a teacher, trying to evaluate his students, their strengths, their weaknesses, their potential, and all these other things. I'm also really curious as Makoto was introduced to his new students. It makes me really curious about where they come from, these different countries, these different empires. We know quite little about the geopolitical situation in this world and how all the countries interact and how all the empires and nations interact with each other and how their standing is among the humankind in this world. We basically only know barely, like very, very barely, any information about the Gretonia Empire and the Luriel, I forget the name, nation that the two heroes were sent to be part of. But I do hope we get way more info about these different nations and areas over time, so I think that would be interesting. Another final note about this mock battle Makoto and Shiki had, I really enjoyed seeing Shiki after the fact, after this mock battle, that of course he was defeated in, that we see Shiki looking a bit down, perhaps, and saying to himself, oof, he didn't let in a single attack. I didn't do any damage to him, right? I really liked that scene because to me, it showcases that, Shiki is always trying to be stronger. He has improved a lot and he's gotten way stronger, but he always keeps wanting to be stronger. And that maybe he feels that if he can actually get at least one attack in on Makoto, he might feel himself to be strong enough to actually be worthy of protecting him, that he still feels inadequate, especially in comparison to Shen and Mio, who are, I suppose, much more powerful still, right? And that they are much more able to defend him, but that he wants to sort of prove himself that, hey, if I can actually be strong enough to at least get some sort of attack in on my master, then I will be worthy of being the one with him now and worthy of being a servant that can protect and serve him in the way he should be. I'm quite interested to see how they move forward with that, if at all, moving forward in the season, as I think it can be quite interesting to see how Shiki and Makoto's relationship forms. Another random tidbit that I found quite humorous was that Makoto is all surprised that, hey, these high school girls are all wanting to marry me, but they only want to be my third wife and beyond, so they get all the benefits of having a rich merchant husband with position and power and wealth without having any responsibility. Basically, I guess, just being a physical toy, so to speak, without having any responsibilities in terms of being a mother or having children or having any wifely duties, just sort of being there and having the ability to, I guess, go on shopping sprees and whatnot. I can understand somewhat how Makoto is surprised by this. These girls are so young, but they're still so scheming and trying to position themselves in these manners. How is that so? But of course, since these are mostly daughters of nobles and businessmen, they know, let's say, what the strategic value of marriage can be, and they want to position themselves regarding that. Of course, what Makoto doesn't really know, or he should know, is that, hey, women has always, and probably will always, be willing to share men of higher status and wealth and power, and that is how it has been historically, where, powerful men would have harems and whatever else, that women would be happy even just to be, let's say, a third, fourth, fifth wife, because, hey, they got all the benefits of having a powerful husband, being protected, being provided for, even having luxuries and an easy life, with the only duty they had being, a physical attachment, so to speak, to their husbands or masters, I guess, in that sense. I did like, though, that Makoto made this offhand comment during this segment that, hey, even Shen and Mio look more reasonable wife material in comparison to all these girls. We're just oh? Is Makoto finally starting to see Shen and Mio as waifu material? If so, good. Because they are. Very good waifu material. Yes, sir. Moving on, though. In episode 6, I was very happy to see that, wow, they spent almost the entire episode just covering Shen and Mio's, let's say, side adventures. And it had way more, let's say, content than I suspected. I thought it was just going to be some small snippets being shown episode to episode, showing these side adventures, but they actually, in episode 6, show a lot of Shen meeting the Empire's hero and Mio meeting the Luria Kingdom's hero, and having that be much more of a story beat than I expected. First of all, before I get into that, I have to say I really quite like that they are actually spending time on this side content, or side storylines. And by that I mean anything that doesn't directly involve Makoto and the main character. Because way too often, especially in anime, it feels like the world only progresses when the main character is present. It doesn't feel like things are happening concurrently in the world, or that the world is, let's say, alive. But by doing this and showing these side stories, so to speak, showing how Shen and Mio are doing in this world, outside of being directly with Makoto and the main character, really makes the world feel more alive and makes you think about all the parallel things that are happening in the world, even if Makoto is not present. And that's a very good, strong suit that I have to applaud them for. I'm sure we will see a lot more of that moving forward in the season, and I'm greatly looking forward to that. I also really like the potential they add to the story when they have these side storylines concurrently happening with the main storyline or the main character, because that opens up a lot of potential for having satisfying character arcs and conclusions to character arcs or story arcs when all these characters come together after the fact at some point. Now, first talk about the interaction between Shen and Tomoki, which was very satisfying and loved to see it. Now, we get to see Lime as well with Shen in this episode, which was good. We also got a tiny mini character arc for Lime, which is nice. Nice to see him again. But I loved how they positioned both Shen and Mio, but especially Shen in this episode, having the hero come to her cottage as she was gathering information about this battle that Makoto was in at the end of season 1, etc., and how they came there to be like, hey, we heard that you have some interesting weapons, you want to buy them. And of course, Shen not being willing to sell her weapons, of course, or being enamored by Tomoki. And Tomoki then resorting to his magical eye, which I guess he's just happy to abuse to get people to do what they want for him. I guess he doesn't see any moral dilemma with that. And Lime is subjected to this and is about to give his sword away, being under this magical eye spell, so to speak, or the influence of it. But then Shen butting in, and Shen being not at all amused by Tomoki's attempt to, let's say, charm her, just feeling disgusted with him instead, which was a nice move there. And then also just having that entire sequence, especially with the lolly dragon tamer girl trying to tame Shen when she realizes she is a dragon, but being blown away, her, like, I don't know, her taming staff, whatever you call it, being torn to bits, and really showcasing just how powerful and intimidating Shen is. And her retreating in a way, or leaving, but being like, hey, I easily could have crushed you here, being the message, and, if you don't watch your step, and if you try to repeat this mistake you just did, next time, the Empire won't have a hero. It's like, goddamn, Shen, goddamn. I really love this interaction for multiple reasons. First of all, okay, we see that Tomoki is still a dick, so seeing him get some comeuppance and pushback was nice. But I really love how, with Mio as well, but especially Shen, they're showcasing that, hey, these characters that, of course, in comparison to Makoto, are vastly inferior in power, but in comparison to everyone else, even the heroes summoned by the goddess are vastly more powerful. Like Shen being incredibly powerful looking here, right? And you really feel the difference in power levels in this world. Like, no matter how weak Shen and Mio might feel in comparison to Makoto, they are still probably some of, if not the most powerful beings on this world, in this universe, outside of Makoto himself, and maybe the goddess, I suppose. And I really liked seeing that. I really liked getting that perspective, as most anime don't really take the time to do that, or showcase that. It gives you a decent view of clarity in terms of power levels, which I appreciate. Now, jumping over to Mio, that was more of a cute, but still nice starting of a story arc where Himeki, right? God, I'm so bad with names. When she randomly meets Mio again, of course, she doesn't realize she is the Spider of Disaster, but her guard spirit animal thing notices and attacks her, which is how they meet again. But anyhow, just seeing her interact with her and trying to learn cooking from her while spending some time with Himeki and her party, and then also again, when Himeki's party fight this monster, which comparatively to a lot of other things in this world are quite weak, they are unable to defeat it. Not necessarily because the party is weak, which we will get into soon, but in the end having Mio just take care of it for them with just one-shotting, using her fan, whatever, to slice it in half. Again, just showing the big difference in how powerful Mio is in comparison to the other hero. Like seeing this massive difference in how easy it is for Mio or Shen to just dish out the pain, dish out the damage, and how powerful they feel to be, even against supposedly the most powerful beings in the human world, on the human side, being the two heroes. Now, outside of that, I do think there's potential when they are clearly showing in this episode that, hey, Himeki has a lot of PTSD issues right now. She has a lot of mental blocks after losing Naval and that whole thing, even though I had a lot of issues with that whole story arc and Naval's character arc as a whole. I do find a lot of potential in, okay, clearly Himeki has a lot of PTSD from this. Clearly she's struggling so much that in the heat of battle, she isn't able to make decisions. She is struck with fear or shock or any number of other emotions, meaning that she isn't able to make a decision and freezes. She just freezes up in the most pivotal moments of battle when she thinks there might even be a risk of losing another teammate, party member, and that crippling her and the ability of her party to do their job. Now, if they do that correctly over time, and if they spend time on, let's say, developing this, and how she might overcome her PTSD or deal with it, and also the smaller character story arcs in her party of, let's say, the warrior that is in the party still, how he might try to replace Naval and be as powerful and strong as she was in protecting and helping Himiki. Ugh, goddammit names. I think those things can be quite interesting to see where they go with it. They might not really spend a lot of time on it, or they might just have Himiki overcome the PTSD really easily and quickly, but I do hope they actually spend some time to have her overcome it or grow past it in some meaningful way, narratively, at the very least. As a final note, when Mio joins Himiki and her party to Sieg? Anyway, the city they were going to rearm in equipment, they get dwarven equipment, and they are saying they're going to go to the wastelands to train. Mio, of course, says that, hey, you're going to be just wiped out because you're way too weak, you're just going to be monster food. But then suggesting that Mio-san and the party that Makoto and Shen and Mio encountered in season 1, like friends of theirs and such, joined them so that they don't just insta-die, seems to be the solution that they come up with. Now, first of all, this is interesting in the way of like, okay, so Mio-san and her friends, even though they were quite weak comparatively in season 1 when we met them, I guess they've trained and gotten like way stronger with the help of Makoto and his friends, party members, whatever you want to call them, since then. And at this point, what, they're way stronger than the heroes? I mean, if that's the case, that's like interesting in terms of how powerful they would be or not be. It also creates an interesting situation of, hey, okay, so if Mio-san and these others go with Himiki and her party to the wastelands to train, and they inevitably clash with Makoto in some way and form due to the goddess or whatever else, how that might impact the different characters and how Himiki might relate to Makoto or understand him or, let's say, not fight him because of her relationship with his friends, Mio-san and the others, or how also them maybe interceding between them could have some interesting narrative potential, you know? Anyhow, though, I feel like these 2 episodes set up a lot of potentially good and fun narrative storylines and arcs, and I really hope that they keep developing on a lot of these over time, as we are getting a 2-core season, so we have a lot of time to explore these things, and we see a lot of satisfying conclusions to some, if not all, of these different potential arcs and storylines and plot points. Anyhow, though, what did you think of episode 5 and 6? And if you saw episode 7, don't spoil me. I'm gonna watch it right now, okay? And I hope you had a good time and learned a lot, got some new thoughts regarding the developments in the last episodes. If you have any thoughts, leave all them down below in the comment section. Of course, please like and subscribe if you like the content here. I try my best to provide meaningful and interesting analysis and reactions, reviews of anime that I am watching. Once again, I am trying to provide way more content than I currently am, but real life situations are making that tough currently. Anyhow, though, hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time, and expect to see a reaction review analysis of episode 7 probably tomorrow. Anyhow, though, see you next time. Bye-bye.